Brubaker here. Just wanted to go live real quick. I'm having actually a crazy Monday, so I hope that you guys are not having the same. I'm trying to get hooked up to Instagram. I'm only going to give you a second to try and get this to work. Okay, awesome, perfect. I am actually live today. This is live. This is not the recording. Even though sometimes I have to go live with doing recordings because that's just the way life is and that's how it goes. But I really do like to be on the live for you guys. Okay, my name is Sharon Brubaker. I'm the founder of the Grief School. The Grief School is the place where healing begins. Look at my little wrinkled shirt. This is my day off, so this is the day I create and do stuff. So I don't necessarily let me wipe it off. I don't necessarily get all dressed up. Okay, I'm the founder of the Grief School, the place where healing begins. I give grievers more to think about, how to help them go through their pain. I sit with women as they are on their unique grief healing journey and help them um, feel heard, feel understood. I talk about things about grief that a lot of people don't talk about. My whole idea about this is to make grief understandable, make it make it make sense, make this make sense. Because for all of us, we know that the worst thing possible has just happened to us. Oh, come on, computer, cooperate. The worst thing possible has just happened to us when we lost our person. And trying to navigate that we've just lost our person, and trying to navigate this grief is it's absolutely out of this world. Unbelievable. Okay. I'm doing a 3-part series today on things that you can do to help yourself with your grief. Things that you can do. I want to make sure you guys understand. It is up to you, the griever, who's got to do these things. It is completely up to you, the griever, that's got to help this grief move along. It's your job to get the grief moving along. Your job, my job, is to give you the tips and tricks, give you a safe place to talk, give you a safe place to share about it. That's my job. Your job is to actually do the work. And here's the deal. You got the harder part of the job. The truth is, you got the hard part. I actually get the easy part. I get the most amazing part because I get to see your faces change. I get to hear your voices change. I get to see your heart. And even more than that, I get to fall in love with your person through your eyes. And that, my friends, is absolutely amazing. Okay, so this week we're going to do a 3-part series on what I can actually do to help you with the pain. And number one, today we're talking about talk it out. Number one is talk it out. I think you guys hear me say this a lot, and you're like, okay, lady, great. That's great. Talking it out. I talk all the time. But I want to talk to you about talk first. Talking through your grief is powerful. It's absolutely powerful. There is power in your story. There is power of healing in your story. What is your story? What is this? It's your grief story. Who are you? Who are you grieving? What are you grieving? Your story is your grief story. There's power. It's not just because someone else might hear you. It's because you might hear you. It is because you might hear you. You will hear you. The power is the you that will hear yourself say the story. The power is you. You are the power. I talk to you guys all the time about the brain and the heart. The brain and the broken heart. The brain and the broken heart, look at this. They're separate. There's space in between here. They are not on the same page. The brain is doing its own thing to figure out the grief, and the heart is doing its own thing. They're both doing their own thing. There's power in the story. I hear you, Sandra. I see you. The power in the story is getting these two onto the same page. The story helps you to do that. The story is going to connect you together so that you guys, this thing right here, which is your full body, starts to work together. You need to hear yourself say the things out loud, and the words have to come out of your mouth. Why? Because something shifts when you do. Something shifts when you do. In the beginning, remember, you didn't even want to say their name. A lot of us couldn't even say their name. This is not for everyone, but a lot of us couldn't even say their name. The thought of saying their name was really hard. So we can't say their name. We can't look at their picture. They've been ripped out of our heart. Our lives are completely changed. We can't even say, we feel like we can't even say their name. How are we going to move beyond this part? Your heart and your brain, the two parts of you that have been out of sync for this entire loss, will finally start to line up when your heart begins to accept what your brain already knows to be true. Your brain already knows the secret. It knows the story. It knows what happened. The heart is what's in disbelief. The heart is sending the message, this hurts. I can't. Why? All of this is coming from the heart, and the brain is hearing it. The brain perceives you to be in danger, and it's trying to fix these thoughts. A lot of us can't even say, he died. She's gone. There was a death in the family. Those are the words that it's really hard for us to say. Say their name, death, died. I know that they're hard to say, and I know they're especially hard to say in the beginning. Some of you are still saying he passed on. I wrote this out, so if you see me looking down, I'm reading. He passed on. He transcended. He went to be with God. She's safe now with Jesus. Some of you are absolutely still saying that. These hot flashes are no joke. And that's okay. If you can't say death or died yet, I get it. I get it. It will come. I truly do get it. But I also want you to know that the truth of what really has happened to you has to come out of your mouth. You have to be able to say it. You guys hear me say this all the time. I called Erica every single day. I called Erica every single day. Something happened when we would just talk on the phone. She and I were talking. This is Erica. This is me. She was telling her version of the story of what happened from her perspective. I was telling my version of the story, even though there was a lot of times I was just listening. Talking and listening both go together. There's a lot of times I was just listening to her. I was listening to what she was saying, and through her, I was starting to be able to articulate my own grief. Through me saying things about parts that she wasn't at, she was able to articulate her own grief, hearing it through me. There are people out here who have lost their parents and have not talked to one of their siblings about their experience. There are people out here who have lost a child and have not talked to their own parents about their experience. What's it like for you, Mom, knowing that he's gone? What is it like for you? Talking isn't about just stating the facts. It's about walking through the story. It's about walking through your grief story. We all have a grief story, and we were talking about this in Grief Study Hall. It has a before and it has an after. Where were you when it happened? What were you doing when the phone call rang? And here's the other thing. None of you will ever forget it. You don't forget any of it. Like you could relive that story over and over and over again. What were you feeling? What did you misunderstand? What did you know to be true? There's power in saying the story out loud. And it is the first part of healing, is that the talking is so important. The talking is truly important because your brain really needs to hear you say the things out loud. Here's the other thing. We all have the friend who is still stuck in her story. She's been divorced for 20 years and she's still talking about the divorce. There's power in saying it out loud. There's healing in that. And no, I don't mean just rambling on for the sake of talking. I mean telling your story so you can move through it and not stay stuck in it. Your grief story is huge. Your grief story holds some of the secrets of where you're going to move next. Your grief was an out-of-body experience. Your loss was an out-of-body experience. Your grief continues to be an out-of-body experience. It's like you stepped out of your body and you are watching yourself have this experience in life. The way we tie you back together is by having you talk about your story. It's like watching yourself from the outside. But when you talk, you say it out loud and it becomes real. It helps your heart catch up with your brain. It helps your heart and your brain catch up. Okay, there are people out here that have no one to talk to. They have no one in their family that will listen to their story. Some of us haven't talked to our parents. I jumped the gun on this. I want you to know that your experience is not their experience, and theirs isn't yours. Erica's experience was not my experience, and my experience wasn't hers. But being able to talk about it is huge. What about for the people that don't have anyone to talk about? That's why grief support works. That's why getting in a grief support group. We tell ourselves our stories out loud. We hear, and sometimes we come to grief support for weeks without even telling the story. We're just listening to other people. You don't have to grieve in silence. I believe that when you're not telling your story and you're not talking, you perpetuate the silence and the isolation of the grief. I say this all the time, you're not broken, you're grieving. And that means you need air. You need to breathe. You need to talk. You need to talk about your person. You need to talk about your emotions. You need to talk about your unique story. You need to talk about your needs. What do you need? There was this other thing that was happening to me. It was like I could make it tangible when I could hear what other people were saying and what their experience was. Even if your voice is shaking, even if you're crying, you still need to feel heard. Grievers need to feel heard. They need to feel like someone else is validating their story, their love. They need to feel heard. Okay. So this is a 3-part series this week is what can I do to help you with your pain? And today we're talking about the talk. Today I want to talk about something that may sound really simple to you, but I promise talking out loud is absolutely huge. Talking about your grief, talking about your thoughts, talking about your person. Even if no one is listening, you just saying their name out loud is huge. Even if you think you've said it all before, I can't even tell you guys, you will repeat the same thing over and over and over again, and that's okay. What we don't want is for you to get stuck here and that you're still repeating it 20 years later. Because I'm telling you, ain't nobody going to want to hear that. Nobody's going to want to hear it. I'll listen to it, but it's going to be very hard to find somebody who's going to want to listen to it. Okay, why silence hurts? When we don't talk about the pain, it doesn't go away. It grows. It builds inside of us like a pressure. Silence becomes a storage unit for all the sorrow and the pain. So we start storing this pain because there's nobody here to listen to the story. Nobody here to give us their heart to just listen to the story. Grief is meant to move through us, not to live in us. And when we stay silent, the pain gets trapped in our body. That's why we get a tight chest. That's why we get headaches. That's why we feel fatigue. That's why we get sick a lot. You are not crazy. You are carrying this heavy, heavy load, but you're carrying it alone. It has to come out. And it comes out through talking. This is what happens to the brain and the body. Speaking out loud activates both the brain and the body and the nervous system. It helps you organize your thoughts. There are things when you talk about this out loud that the grief goes, oh my God. Oh, hold on. Oh my gosh, I get it now. When it hears you talk about this and it gets the aha moment, that's a little bit of a moving on the grief healing journey. That's a little bit of you moving the pain. When it hears you talk about this and it gets it, oh man, that's it. When you say something out loud, I miss her so much today, your brain hears that. Your body will release a little bit of that emotion and it becomes real. And that in the realness is what we can process. Hear me out to everyone. Talking about your grief is not complaining. It is not complaining when you talk about your grief. There's this myth that people who are talking about their grief too much are wallowing in their negativity. So let me be clear. Talking is not complaining. Complaining is this. This person who is stuck after 20 years and can't stop telling that divorce story, she's probably complaining. She's probably the one that keeps telling the story over and over again and is in pain. Talking is about honoring your pain. When you speak about your person and your memories and your sorrow and you even cry, you're giving your love a voice. You're giving voice to this love. You're giving voice to this pain. You're giving voice to the grief. So you're giving voice to the love, to the pain, to the grief, and to your person. You are honoring them when you talk about them. It is the first step in moving beyond the pain. You're honoring them. Okay, let's talk about who you can talk to. You can talk to me. I'm always available to talk. But sometimes I can't talk. Sometimes I'm with clients. Sometimes I'm sleeping. Sometimes I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, like today. Right? You can talk to a trusted friend or a family member. But hear me out. The friend or family member cannot be the one that's trying to fix you. They cannot be the one that's asking the inappropriate questions right now. They cannot be the one that has a plan for how you should get over this, and that involves shopping and buying new boots. That's not the person. The person is probably someone who's gone through a loss or a death. They allow you to talk without trying to fix you. They ask you questions about the grief. What does that feel like? Where do you feel that? Tell me more about that. They don't have to be your therapist. It's why so many of us go to therapy, because we just don't have someone to talk to. This is going to sound crazy, but you can talk to yourself. You can talk to yourself out loud. Seriously. You can seriously go in the mirror and have a conversation with yourself. You can record your voice. Record your voice, especially if there's something about the grief you want to remember. Go and record that story to your voice. You can talk to God. You can talk to God. I found that there was power in Erica and I sharing the story. Sharing the story with someone else who has experienced it, I think is huge. Hearing it from their perspective, I think is huge. The grief support groups. There are many grief support groups. They're not as amazing as mine, but there's grief support groups out here. Grief Study Hall. We meet every Tuesdays and Thursdays. We meet every Tuesday and Thursday, and we have Grief Study Hall. It's a great place to share your grief. 1 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday and 10 a.m. on Thursday. It's 2 hours. It's a drop-in, drop-out group. I say that we don't do small talk, but we do a lot of small talk. We always do an emotional check-in to see where you are emotionally. How are you doing today? Are you okay? And then I teach a lesson. I think that is part of that's really different. As I teach a lesson on grief, I want you to be able to look into this grief thing. Friends, when Brittany called me and told me that she had lost Austin, my knees hit the ground. And in the beginning, I didn't know what that meant. At first, I didn't know what this was that my body was experiencing. I knew that everything was about to change for us. I honestly knew when I picked up the phone and it was Brittany, I knew this was going to end bad. I just felt that way. I knew that everything had shattered and everything had changed. And for the first few weeks, I wasn't really talking about my own grief. As a matter of fact, for the first few months, I wasn't even talking about my own grief. I would talk to Erica about the story. And I'm going to tell you guys, I loved it. I loved talking to Erica because I felt like in some ways she was validating my own grief. There were a lot of times that I stayed silent during the grieving experience at the beginning. I thought that if I would really start to talk about me, that I would really fall apart. I remember thinking one day, and I was actually saying it out loud. I was getting out of the shower, and I said, buddy, I don't know where you are, and I don't know how we're going to do this, and I don't know if we can live without you. And I remember I was crying. I was crying really hard. And I picked up my cell phone and I called Sharon. And she and I talked. Something right there in that moment, I can still picture myself in there, released in that moment. Something released in me at that very moment. I didn't feel anything. I just moved something. And it was in the power of speaking it. I moved something that moment in my grief. I want to challenge you guys to speak your grief or speak about your grief at least one day this week. I want to challenge you to speak your grief story out loud. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Say whatever is real for you in that moment. Start with, today I miss you, or right now I miss you. I feel and I miss you. Record a voice note. Show up at study hall and be prepared to share your story. It doesn't have to be eloquent. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It can be full of snot and tears. It just has to be true. It just has to be your story, your grief story. All right, friends, if you need space where you can be allowed to talk, where you want to share about your grief, or you just want to hear other grievers, a really great place to start is Grief Study Hall. We meet there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. There you can hear yourself say the thing out loud. You can hear yourself talk about the thing out loud. And it's a place where all of us are going to be holding your space and your grief. Okay, let me see here. What about when it's difficult to put emotions to words? One of the things that I teach is my emotional compass, and I teach that in the class, Sandra. And it is truly important that we learn about emotions and how the emotions affect us. One of the things you want to start doing is the days that you know what the emotion is, start writing that emotion down and writing the description to that emotion for yourself, just so you know that that's what this is. And finding the emotion is sometimes, it is something that you have to talk through to find the emotions, but working through and understanding emotions, I think absolutely is huge. It's absolutely huge. So one of the things that I definitely teach in processing the pain of grief is emotions. I go into it really deeply. I can do a class on emotions for sure. It's actually a really good idea. I have coming up, I think at the end of this month, a 3-day emotional reset. And I really suggest you all, it's going to be free, that you all make that. I'm going to do it this month and in May. It's emotional reset. I think would be really good for you. Let's start there. Let me get that on the books so I can tell you when it is. Hi, Aida. How are you doing, my friend? Good morning, Grief Gang. We're the Grief Gang. Those are very heavy statements. Yes, they are. When I talk about my mom, I talk about her like she's still here. But probably because part of you, she's still in your heart, and that's okay. Sandra says I do the same thing. It's because they're still here for you in your heart. They're still alive for you. Austin is still here for me. Sharon is still a part of me. My dad is still a part of me. Hey, Pauline. Is the effect the same if you tell your story out loud and no one is present, or does it have to be in? It is better if you're telling your story to someone. I'm not going to lie about that. But let me tell you, the amount of people that we can absolutely talk to has gotten so limited because people give us a very short bandwidth where we're allowed to tell our story. So let me show you this. You know what this is? This is your grief journey. I'm going to call it your grief healing journey. This is your grief healing journey. Here's the bandwidth that they will allow you to talk. There you go. That's it. They don't match. They don't go together. They don't go together. So it's going to be really hard for you to be able to continue telling your story to someone who will listen. That's why grief support groups work so well. One of the reasons that you guys, there's power in the group. There's also power in the group. There's power in the story and there's power in the group. When you have someone else who's showing up for you and listens to your story, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. I think that, Sandra, I think that you are really dialed in, and I think you could call Tracy out and be like, you left me with this. This is not fair. This is how I'm feeling. Do I always want you talking it out loud? No. Do I always want you talking to yourself? No. I'm glad you can watch me at work too. I'm finally starting to talk more about the things that I've held in. Carla, I love it. I absolutely love it. There's huge parts that we are not willing to say out loud, that we're embarrassed to say out loud, that even just saying it out loud breaks us down because it hurts so much. I have held in for 20 years, and then I had a harder loss a month ago, and the boys and the emotions. I didn't go back then because I had to be strong and hold everything together. Kanias, am I saying that right? Kanias, that was me. I was the be strong person. I talk a lot about be strong. The being strong will keep us stuck. I have to talk to myself. Getting into a good therapist here is a joke. But you can come to the Grief Support School. You can join the Facebook group, which I see you have. Listen to the trainings, come to the lives, all of those. I heard you say something about a 12-week course. Do you have more info? I have a 12-week course starting on the 15th. And yes, I will post that here. I'll post that here in the live. But I have something really big coming up next month too. I'm teary-eyed, but I can't. Oh, it's Connie. Monette's always helping me. She's like, oh, Sharon's a little slow. I have to help her. Okay. I hope I was able to answer all of your questions now. There's power in talking. Talking is the first part. The problem with the talking is that this happens. This is what happens. We have a grief healing journey. We're on that grief healing journey, and then this happens. We have nowhere to go. We absolutely have nowhere to go. Okay, friends, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for allowing me to share. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about I think it's going to be about journaling. I can't remember. It's 3 parts. Oh, might be the tears, journaling, talking. It's all going to go together. I know I did tears the other day, but I want to tie them all in. All right, friends. I'll see you tomorrow.